Good evening. I'm Marty Owings, live from the Capitol, and we're with Representative Dan Fabian, and you represent the district that's way, 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 way up north.
It's definitely way up north, Marty. I like to tell people somewhat facetiously that I represent southern Manitoba and eastern North Dakota, so that gives you an idea of where I live. It's all of Roseau County, all of Kittson County, all of Marshall County, and a bit of Pennington County, including the city of Thief River Falls. Down and back, it's about a 13-hour trip for me. To Roseau, it's 720 miles round trip. So if you're heading to Chicago this weekend and I'm heading home, we'll spend about the same amount of time driving.
Oh boy, so really hockey country. I mean,
yeah, that's for sure. Yeah,
pretty passionate about their hockey up where.
Yeah, well, you can see some of my pictures here in the office. Hockey is a big part of our community, obviously, and Northwest Minnesota. We're very proud of our hockey tradition. I had 3 sons that all played hockey, and really have enjoyed the time that I've been at the rink in Roseau, and it's one of the things that I really cherish.
Well, Representative Fabian, tell me a little bit about, like, for viewers out there that don't know sort of the history of that area, but it wasn't always a conservative stronghold. Maybe you could say it was common sense farming country, but I mean, some of the Finlanders and all that from Duluth, they sort of spread out, and there was a lot of liberal or progressive ideas up around your area, weren't there?
I think that there are, but I think that a lot of the core values of people, whether they're Republicans or Democrats or independents, I think that we have a lot in common, and they are basically, kind of self-reliance, some of that rugged individualism, and where a lot of my constituents obviously are very strong on the Second Amendment, and we like fiscal responsibility, and we're pro-life, and that's just kind of the community that I live in. And I like to think that I'm a reflection of the district, and I think that people really appreciate the fact that I do represent the values of so much of the district.
Yeah, and you were talking a little bit earlier about your sons, all 3 played hockey. Did you play hockey?
I played a little bit youth hockey when I was growing up in Fargo, and I like to tell my sons that I was probably the worst hockey player that ever put a pair of skates on for Fargo South High School. I figured out pretty early in my hockey career that wasn't going to be for me, so I went on to do some other things. But my kids all played in Roseau, and had one son that played at the University of North Dakota, and another one that played at the Air Force Academy, and my other son played college football and baseball. So we've had an awful lot of fun.
Yeah, good. That's a lot of traveling, so you must like it.
I like traveling, and you can tell by working down here I like traveling. If you live in Roseau and you don't like traveling, you don't go anywhere.
No, and it's not like the job pays a ton, so it's not like you're coming down here for a $200,000 a year job.
It's only half a ton, I think. So. or as my friend, my friends on the Iron Range talk about long tons, I would say that this is a short ton.
Yeah. Hey, let's talk about the Iron Range for a second, because I think you came in right around the time, right before, well, I think Rukavina left, you were in. You'd already been here a while. And he's another fellow Iron Ranger, so you got to watch some of the debates between him and Emmer and Biskins back in the day.
I didn't get to see when Emmer was here, but he and Biskins, and of course he loved to chide me a little bit. He would every once in a while he'd talk about. Representative Fabian, he'd say, you're going to have to go back to Thief River Falls and explain to those people why you voted no on this bill that I've got here tonight. Yeah. And I don't think they're going to care much for that. But I always liked Tommy. We have a good relationship. I stay in touch with him. And, I've got a lot in common with a lot of folks on the Iron Range. Representative David Dill was a real mentor of mine here, a DFLer, but we had so much in common, and we worked together on so many different issues that came before us here in the legislature, and we really miss him here.
Well, it's a great story. It's great to share that with people, too, because they look at politics up here and what the news reports, and a lot of it is the contentious back and forth talking points, and relationships that you guys build over the years become special and meaningful for you. There isn't a legislator up here that I don't think didn't respect Representative Dill or even love Tommy Rukavina. So what can you say about that?
Well, yeah, there's no doubt about that. Tommy was, his own breed, I'll say, and sure. Dave was too. And I've told many people many times that I really look to David as a role model for the way we should go about doing business. And quite frankly, when I first came into the legislature, in fact, I sat in the office right next door to us here. I was carrying House File 1, and David stopped me in the parking ramp one afternoon on a Sunday. I'd gotten back here, and he asked me if I had a few minutes to visit with him about House File 1, which was our environmental review and permitting reform and stuff like that. And he came up to my office, and I remember the conversation fairly vividly, especially when he told me this, and it's what I've tried to use as kind of a guiding principle for me, and that's, he said, you know, Dan, he said, you've got a really good bill here. I'm just going to give you one piece of advice. Count your votes, sit down, and shut up. And I've tried to keep that close to my heart.
Yeah, you're not one of the more vocal representatives on the House floor, but maybe you don't feel like giving campaign speeches on the House floor or that type of thing.
You know, we've mentioned in some of our earlier conversations, for me, I think the thing that gives me the most satisfaction in the role that I play as a state legislator representing District 1A is coming down here and doing the work that those folks expect me to do. And so many of the issues that I bring forward in terms of legislation, and that is the result of conversations that I've had with people back home. Mm-hmm. And you know, even when I was in the minority, I was able to get a tremendous amount of stuff done for Northwest Minnesota. You know, we expanded the mental health beds at the Sanford Hospital in Thief River Falls. Real common sense. You know, mentioned earlier about, progressives and conservatives or whatever it was, but you hit the nail on the head when you talked about common sense. And I think that that's why I've been able to be really quite successful in getting a lot of my initiatives not only moved through the process, but signed into law.
Yeah. The art of compromise sometimes?
Well, you obviously have to. I mean, there's 134 people on this side of the street, and you've got 67 of them on the other side of the street, and then the governor. And you got to figure out a way to work with people. You know, if you want to advance an agenda, if you just want to say no or something, you know, you can do that. But if you have concerns that a city or a school district or an individual brings to you, you got to figure out a way to work with other people.
Well, this has been a visit with Representative Dan Fabian. This is Marty Owings, live from the Capitol.